This is the second part of a video that I produced a couple months ago entitled Benelli M2 Design Flaw. And I discussed in that video one of the problems that I encountered with the Benelli M2 Tactical when I was out duck hunting with this gun. And I lost my limiter plug and the little piece of metal that held it into the gun. I was just firing and the limiter plug lobbed out into the water and it disappeared. If you want to watch that video, I'm going to annotate it right up here, okay? And you guys can just click on that. It might be wise and beneficial to watch that video before you watch this video, which is Benelli M2 Design Flaw Update. And I got home after having had that problem, and I did something that I should have done more closely when I first got the gun, and I read the manual that came with the gun, and I realized that it's not technically a design flaw. I didn't understand exactly how the gun worked, okay? You can see here that the picture here, it's not as precise as it might have been nice if they'd included actual photographs of the item, but you can see here there's this little washer, and they've got another picture of it here, okay? And that is this little ring that has a little cutout and a little lip there, and you can see there that they're manipulating it. I didn't understand how that worked. You're supposed to turn it sideways, and it actually does come out, and that was my mistake. You need to be aware of that, and I must have reached up here, okay, and bumped it as I was out hunting, and then when I fired, I had that sideways, and it ejected the limiter plug because I had not made sure to reseat it correctly. But this little washer comes up, and you have to be very careful because then it will eject the limiter plug here, which then you're able to keep your finger on and allow to come up, okay, and remove it. And then what's nice about that is you don't have to unscrew this and take it out. You can just right here push down. Okay, this is another little washer that's behind that. So the limiter plug goes in, and it has a little halfway down the limiter plug, which is just aluminum. It has a little disc that pushes this down, all right? That goes down, and then the limiter plug has another kind of metal cap like this on it. That goes down, and then you put that washer in it. And the limiter plug's disc on the end is a little bit thinner than this area here on the shotgun. And so because I must have pushed that, and when I fired it turned that disc even further sideways and ejected everything. So that caused me a problem because now I needed to either buy those parts or come up with a solution. So I did some looking online, and I realized it was going to be like $40 by the time I bought a brand new limiter plug, and then the disc that was like $5 that goes on top of that to hold the limiter plug in, and then I needed to get another that secondary little retention pin that pushes this down and makes the rod thicker. So by the time I was going to be done with shipping, it was going to be like $40. So I decided, what can I do to come up with a solution? And I found this little piece of dowel lying around, and I think I paid for like a 3-foot dowel. I believe this is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, we'll just measure that here to make sure, in case you guys encounter the same problem. Yeah, it's like a 1/2 inch, okay, or 3/4 of an inch. You're going to want to get the right diameter because it's going to need to go into your shotgun. And I just cut it, I measured it, and I made sure that I could only put 2 shotgun shells, 2 3-inch shotgun shells in this, and 2 2 3/4 inch shotgun shells. Because if you can put, if it's long enough to stop your 3 inches, and this gun shoots both 3-inch and 3 1/2 inch, or 3 3/4 inch? 2 3/4. I'm sorry, 2 3/4, okay, and 3-inch shotgun shells. I don't know what I'm thinking there. You're going to need to make sure that you can't fit more than 2 into your plug for it to be legal to be hunting, okay? But I'm just going to now remove this. I'm going to show you guys how I install this this wooden dowel into my gun here. Now, this is more time-consuming than the nice little system that Benelli had intended for me to use. But here's the spring, okay, and here's the little disc there. And I'm glad that this was in the gun because I would have had to buy this if it hadn't come with it. Okay, you can just reinsert that. This comes out, and then here is this little back plug that basically stops your shotgun shells from pushing up onto the spring and keeps that spring installed, okay? So I'm just going to make sure that that's in there correctly, seated back, and then I'm just going to insert this spring that keeps the tension on the shotgun shells and keeps feeding, and then this dowel just goes right down. It's just the same exact diameter, okay? Woo! Could lose it there. And then I just sure that we got this correctly. Put this back on like so, and then just insert that, and then screw it down, making sure everything is seated correctly. And that's my 50-cent solution to what could have cost me $40. Now, it's not as simple, and it's not as refined as Benelli intended it to be. But I actually think it's a better system because even though I understand why Benelli and how Benelli designed the limiter plug and that retention piece to hold the limiter plug in, it only takes somebody reaching up here and bumping that, or you dropping your gun or pushing that against something that you didn't want it to, for you to lose your limiter plug. This way, I cannot, this is not coming out, that other piece in there is not coming out. It takes a little more time to install and to take out, but it makes sure that you're not going to lose your limiter plug when you're out hunting and then be breaking the law and then get fined or arrested or have to deal with legal problems because your limiter plug ejected on you. So that's my solution to my video, Benelli M2 design flaw. Thank you so much for your views and your subscriptions. My goal is to produce quality video reviews of shooting, camping, and survival gear. This is the Gear Tester, signing off.